Hey everyone, and welcome back to Adam's Athenium. Let's go ahead and take a look together through the news and records of our times as we try to shed light upon the unvarnished truth. Thanks for coming back to this episode where we obviously need to talk about the $30 trillion of debt that the US currently has. So where do we begin? Well, today let's go ahead and start at the usdebtclock.org. And I'm not sure how pinpoint specific or exact this is, but currently the US is sitting at 30 trillion, 647 billion, 402 million, $600,000 and climbing in debt. The debt per citizen is approximately $92,032, or debt per taxpayer is $243,797 currently, according to this website. Well, that's where we're starting off the episode. Trillions of dollars in debt, hundreds of thousands of dollars per taxpayer, and how are we ever going to get out of this mess? Well, let's get started by talking about government spending. Now let's go back in time a little ways and think back to before Trump, and we'll go back to Barack Obama, who totaled $8.3 trillion of debt throughout his 8-year presidency. And Trump increased the debt by a further, let's double check here. Yeah, $7 trillion. And now we went from 27 trillion in debt when Trump left. Now we're at 30 trillion and a half, almost $31 trillion in debt. That's not $31, $3,100, $310,000, 3.1 million, 310 million. That's not 31 billion, 310 billion, $31 trillion. Did you know that the average human can't even count to a billion in their lifetime? If you can't even count that high, how are you going to pay off that kind of debt? Well, I mean, the money's been spent. I don't know how we're going to pay it back, but we need to call out where money is being spent and why it's being spent, because some of this stuff is ludicrous. Like right here, Nancy Pelosi's trip to Taiwan is expected to cost taxpayers over $90 million. Now that's for security, U.S. military presence, food, gas, that kind of thing. Security. We've got from the Manhattan Institute, Biden's spending agenda, a year of red ink. During the 2020 presidential campaign, Joe Biden promised $11 trillion in new spending, dwarfing the $1 trillion to $2 trillion by previous Democratic presidential nominees. From the Daily Caller, the Biden administration is sending up to $300,000 in taxpayer money to boost LGBT social acceptance in Botswana. And then we've got research departments like Anthony Fauci's group at the NIAID, or the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, where Fauci and his team would spend $5.6 million of taxpayer money, forcing beagle puppies to endure bites from 250 ticks. There's also studies where Fauci funded for dogs to be, they had to have botflies put on them and were eaten alive. And the U.S. taxpayer paid for that. But you agree with that kind of cruel and inhumane treatment of animals for the purpose of science and discovery? No, I think you're doing cruel and inhumane torture to a dog and having the American citizens pay for it. Well, the debt clock continues to climb. 30 trillion, 647 billion, 408 million, and $600,000. Continues to climb. Let's see. State debt. Basically, each state would owe $1 trillion. The debt per citizen would be about $3,600. I mean, how do you pay this off is the question. Like, For the average American citizen, you, I, the person down the street, we have a checking and or savings account. And when you go negative, or you've spent more money than what you have in your account, and you overdraft your account, not only do you tend to get charged for the money that you spent that wasn't there, there's usually a limit of how much you can withdraw while still being negative. Some banks don't allow you to go negative at all. Some will allow you, let's say, a $500 limit. So you can keep spending money even though you don't have it. They'll let you spend about $500 worth of money plus overdraft fees before they shut your account down. So Congress, the White House, anyone in Washington, anyone in politics, I ask you to listen to this video and really listen to this part of the message. You all have $30 trillion of debt. The average American citizen, once they get $500 in debt, do you know what happens? They have to choose between not paying the lights, not paying the gas, not getting food, not running the air conditioner or the heater. But they can't get to work, but they need to get to work to pay the job, or for the money to pay for the bills. So an American taxpayer who is the backbone of this country, let's be honest, you people in Washington don't do anything for the making and the foundation of this country. You just deal with the paperwork. Let's be honest. The people who work and run this country and make it run can't go more than, let's say, about $500 in debt before their card is shut off. You have spent $30 trillion over being bankrupt. We were already bankrupt decades ago. And yet we continue to write blank checks. We continue to print more money. We moved away from the gold standard and instituted the Federal Reserve. And now cash rules the currency. However, the digital economy, digital currency is ramping up and taking over the market to some degree. The gold standard to some degree has lost its value and its purpose comparatively and effectively to what it should have been. No, nowadays the government spends out of control. They spend money that they don't have. They spend money that we don't have. I mean, who do we pay off? I mean, when you're $500 in debt, you pay off the bank, and then your card gets reactivated and you can activate your checking or savings account again. Who do we pay off? Who is all of this debt to? Who is letting us still function as a country when we're not $3,100 in debt. We're not $31,000 in debt, $310,000, $31 million, $310 million, $31 billion, $310 billion. No, $31 trillion of debt is what we have. I can tell you how to pay off $500 worth of debt. I can't even begin to tell you where to start with even the notion of how to pay off $31 trillion worth of debt. Now, as a Catholic, we've heard the term Jubilee, where all taxes are forgiven. I don't know how effective or realistic that is in an economy and population the size of today. But other than that, how do you pay this off? How does the U.S. get to a point of no spending? Like, I just read you headlines of all these articles of how the government continues to spend hundreds of millions of dollars, billions of dollars. Biden sends tens of billions of dollars to Ukraine, right? We don't have the money, yet he continues to send it. How do you not understand, as the government, the people who are supposed to lead the country, who are supposed to know how to balance a checkbook and then teach people in schools how to balance a checkbook, so that way we know what to do as adults, right? You can't even recognize or own up to the fact that you are so far in debt that you shouldn't be spending a single freaking dime on anything. Anything. I don't care what your pet projects are. I don't care about LGBTQ acceptance in Botswana for $300,000. No, thank you. I don't care about testing dogs for anything, for any research, if it's going to cost us money. Again, what does the American taxpayer have to do when they are in debt? Stop spending money. Pay off your debt. And then once your debt is paid off and you make smart investments and smart banking choices, then you can begin saving money. You cannot be in debt and continue to spend money. That's not a hard concept. You have to be stupid or ignorant not to understand that fact. You all know where I think the government lies on that. The government fails at everything they do. They wreck everything they touch, and they can't do one thing right. That's where I'll leave today's episode. We'll leave it a little short. Just wanted to hit the basics. We're almost $31 trillion in debt. The debt continues to climb literally by the second. How are we going to pay it off? Congress, the White House, state and local governances need to stop spending money and balance the budget until we figure out how to pay off the debt. It's really that simple, and it's not that hard. As always, I thank you all for coming back to listen to these important messages that I feel like I need to share. You can always subscribe so that way you can be notified of when I post new videos. I post every week. Sometimes there will be 2 or 3 in a week. So just so that way you're notified, go ahead and subscribe. That way you get the notifications. On most of my videos, I like to leave the comment section open unless it's more specifically something that's more kid content, something where I'm not swearing, then the chat will be disabled. But otherwise, I'd love to hear your discussions, your arguments, your data in the comments section. And let's keep it fair and friendly. I hope to see you there. And again, thank you for coming. I'll see you next week.